But first, in the studio with me for the next hour, our boxing correspondent, Mike Costello. Good evening.
Hi, Ellie.
And this man.
This is a fight which will turn him from boy into a man as a professional. And now he's teeing off on Fragamini. 4 or 5 punches, and Fragamini is on the ropes, and he's crushed down onto the seat of his trunks. And Haye is really beginning to get through here now. What a terrific turnaround. He goes for the uppercut, and Morbeck is down, and he falls face first. And it's not often that they get up when they fall face first. Macronelli is down on his knees, but he manages to head back up. A second right hand from David Haye. Enzo Macronelli wheels all the way around the ring. Haye comes back in, finishes off the job. Uppercut, right hook. Now the referee steps in, and it is all over with just over a minute to go in the third round. And Valuev is wobbled as Haye goes forward. Right hand, left hook, and Haye now makes Valuev wobble in a way that he hasn't been in a 16-year professional career. Valuev has no answer.
From London, England, and
And welcome to former world heavyweight champion David Haye. I love listening to Buncey laughing. Laughing when you won. It was brilliant.
Yeah, Buncey's been there, from when I was, you can remember going to the gym when I was like 10, 11 years old and seeing me, so it must have been pretty special for him to be there ringside winning the heavyweight title.
Do you know what I also love about that montage we just heard is the music?
Yeah.
Paddle and Whitehead.
I know, one of my favourite tunes of all time, and it's the first time I played that tune was when I fought Jean-Marc Morbeck. And it stuck, so that became my signature tune.
Reading the book about you, which we're going to talk a little bit more about in the future, it's written by this young 25-year-old guy called Elliot Warsell, who actually is quite rude about your choice of music quite often. He didn't rate it very highly. I know. You've got a bit of retro tastes, I think it's fair to say.
I know. I like what I like, and if you don't like it, tough.
Let's just talk a bit about some of the things that you've done. Just a reminder that 0500 909 693 is the number to call tonight. Text us on 85058. And the book is out. Is it out today?
It's out today. Yeah,
Making Haye.
All good.
And it's a biography, but it's written very close. A man very close to you. But just if you could sum up one moment in the book, in your career, that for you stood out and made you think that's it. That's what I will take to my grave. What would it be? It's
probably the night in Levallois when I challenged Jean-Marc Morbeck. A guy that very few people gave me a chance of beating. Fighting on foreign soil in the guy's pretty much his backyard on a Don King Promotions. He was a Don King promoted fighter. So theoretically I had to knock him out to get a draw. But I had to really dig deep. I got knocked down in the 4th round, so it wasn't going my way, but I managed to turn it around and beat a guy who had the type of style that I've always struggled with. I fought a guy called Jacob Fragamini the fight prior to that one, and I had a world of trouble, got a big cut over my eye, and this was like a bigger, stronger, better version of Fragamini, Jean-Marc Morbeck, and I managed to pull off the victory. And for me, that for me was a real big highlight.
I asked Mike Costello to give the key moments that I should be reading about in the book in the kind of day we had to read it, and that was one of the ones that you picked out, wasn't it, Mike? It was defining.
Yeah, it was a very special night. You have to take into account the circumstances as well. Jean-Marc Morbeck was a man who'd lost only once in the previous 10 years, and had avenged that defeat as well. And I always say that you can judge the status and the value of a sporting achievement on a scale of rarity. If it hasn't been done often before, it must be difficult to do. And David Haye won world titles twice, and both times against Morbeck, and as we heard on that sequence there, against Nikolai Valuev, away from home. That's very rare, and it's rare because it's difficult to do. Whatever you might think about David's personality or even his ability in the ring, what you cannot dispute is that to win world titles twice in 2 different weight divisions that beforehand only Evander Holyfield had done the same, that is a special feat to have done it twice and away from home each time.
Did that make it easier to walk away, David, knowing that you'd done that?
Yeah, because it was always my dream to be the world heavyweight champion. You know, when I was a little kid, I never mentioned the cruiserweight division. You know, I just happened to stumble on a cruiserweight division because I wasn't that big. Everyone assumed I was going to be a heavyweight because I was like 6'2" when I was like 12. So people just assumed I was going to be 6'7" and 18 stone. But I sort of had my growth spurt stopped, and I was a sort of a skinny light heavyweight. So I was always fighting guys bigger than myself. And yeah, it was easy to walk away. Well, not easy to walk away, but having achieved what I've achieved, winning the titles, the genuine titles, no Mickey Mouse stuff. I fought for the real belts, and won them. You know, against the odds. That definitely made it easier.
Let's have a call from John in Aberdeen. Hi, John.
Hello there.
What's your question for David?
Hello, David. I just got, from a fan's point, I agree with you getting out just like Gene Tunney did and Rocky Marciano by retiring when you're still, you know, compos mentis and everything. But as a fan, from a fan's point of view, there's one key fight that I feel would get you into a return with Klitschko or Vitali. And that's one with Povetkin for his portion of the WBA title. I feel that it's a very winnable fight for you because he's a similar size to you, slightly shorter. He isn't as fast. He doesn't hit as hard. And then if you beat him, you'd be beating someone with an unbeaten record.
But I'd still be in exactly the same situation as I am now. It wouldn't put me any further up in the rankings. And the title he has isn't really a title. You know, the WBA title, the one that I held, Vladimir Klitschko now holds. So the one that Povetkin has is it's like an interim title.
Yeah.
And it'd stand. And even hypothetically, if I was to have beaten Povetkin, that'd still put me, you know, a year to 18 months away from getting a mandatory shot at Vladimir.
Thanks, John, for your call. Do you feel retired, David?
Yeah, I do. You know, I've been talking about this particular day for a long time now. You know, it's not like something I've just sprung up on the British public and said, okay, I'm retiring now, and everyone's upset. I've been saying this, we could confirm that I've been saying it for many years, and it seems like it's come around all so quick. You know, when I was 20 years old saying it, you know, 10 years seemed like a hell of a long time, but you know, I'm 31 now, and it's a strange situation, it's a strange position to be in, being so young and retired, but one that I've got to get used to.
It's a rarity as well, Mike, isn't it? We talk all the time on 5 Live Boxing about boxers who can't properly walk away from the fight game. They keep coming back. It holds on to them. And David, you know, you've walked away with your good looks intact, obviously, which is good. Is your reputation as intact as it might have been, do you think?
I don't know. You know, some people would doubt that. Some people would say after my last fight against Vladimir, you know, I'm going out on a low. You know, if I'd retired the day before I fought Vladimir, would I be going out on something better? Maybe then people would say I didn't actually have the toughest challenges. I didn't challenge the best because I ducked Vladimir. You know, I fought Vladimir, did my best. Unfortunately, my best wasn't good enough. And you know, I believe there possibly is more to come. There's more in me. I could beat Vladimir. I could beat Vitali. But, you know, we'll never know now.
Questions on 0500 909 693 for David Haye this evening on 5 Live Sport. Raul in Redditch has sent us a text. He says, hi, David. As an avid boxing fan who's followed your career for many years, I would like to ask if you've fulfilled all your aspirations as a marquee fighter, and where would you place yourself amongst the British and world heavyweights?
Yeah, I've achieved my aspiration. My aspiration was always to be the heavyweight champion of the world. That's what I said from when I was about 3 years old. I achieved that. You know, along the way, I won the cruiserweight European Championship. Defended that 3 times. You know, won all the titles at cruiserweight. So, you know, in terms of a resume, I think it's pretty solid. I'm not sure where you'd rank me. It's hard to rank yourself. You know, I was always a fan of Frank Bruno, obviously growing up. You know, he was fighting in a lot tougher era than myself. You know, he fought some real great heavyweights, and obviously he lost his title against Mike Tyson. You know, after he won it against Oliver McCall. So you know, maybe if there was no maybe there's no Mike Tyson around back then, maybe he would have had a string of title defences. But we'll never know. You know, as long as people remember me as, you know, a very good British world champion, At heavyweight, then I can live with that. You know, it's hard. It's very difficult to compare heavyweights from different eras, because one thing you can guarantee: the heavyweights around today are nowhere what they were back when Lennox Lewis was fighting, or Frank Bruno, or even Henry Cooper. You know, these guys had some real talented fighters around, and you know, I'd like to believe I'm the best. I'm one of the best. You know, of the current crop.
Where would you rate him, Mike?
Well, I think when you look at past achievements, you sometimes measure a fighter against what other fighters have achieved. But another much better way of doing it is putting David into the ring with those same men. Would he beat Lennox Lewis? In my view, no. Would he beat Frank Bruno? Well, for what all David says about Bruno being around in an era when the competition was stronger, Bruno actually struggled with speed and mobility in front of him. So that would have been fascinating. Bruno, yes, was known as a very heavy puncher, but so was Vladimir Klitschko. A lot of people said that the moment Klitschko connected with David Haye's chin, then David would go over, end of fight. Well, he connected cleanly half a dozen times across 12 rounds, and he didn't go over. So, you know, not as good as Lennox Lewis, but very close in the race to be the runner-up behind him.
If we're talking fantasy matchups, to quickly read you this text from Dave in Brighton. He says, can you ask David how he feels he would have got on against Evander Holyfield at cruiserweight? In my opinion, the two best cruisers of all time.
That'd be a tough fight. Over how many rounds? 12 or 15 rounds? I'd be happy. I'd be happy with 12 rounds with Evander. I think that'd be a very, very tough fight. I'd love to believe I'd beat him, because when I fought at cruiserweight, the limit was £200. When he fought, it was £190. So naturally, I'm 10 pounds heavier than he was. So I'll be happy with that advantage there. And over 12 rounds as well. Yep, I'll be happy with that. I'd say I'd just pip him on points, just about.
Let's take another call. Damien in Shrewsbury. Hi, Damien.
Hi there, how you doing? Okay?
I'm very well, thanks. Yeah, you're through to David Haye.
You're good. Hello, David. How you doing?
I'm not bad, mate. I'm real good.
Good. I'm okay. The question was, after your emphatic win over Enzo Maccarinelli, and as you've discussed tonight about the win over Mormec, probably the best fight of your career, in my view, do you feel that the timing was right for you to move from cruiserweight to heavyweight, or do you feel that you could have perhaps gone on through cruiserweight and been perhaps the best ever above Holyfield as a cruiserweight?
I believe the time was just right for me. I don't believe there was anybody else, and there wasn't anybody else that could draw, you know, the type of excitement that Enzo Maccarinelli could, and I beat Enzo Maccarinelli. There was no marquee fights. I'd done as much as I could do at cruiserweight, but I could have stayed at cruiserweight and just kept defending my title 10 times. But even still, the opposition wasn't there to sort of solidify a cruiserweight campaign that could, I believe, compete with Evander Holyfield. So I did the next logical step, which would be to obviously take on the bigger guys, take on the bigger, tougher challenges, and be the small man in all of my fights, and really do the best I can to unify the heavyweight division. I got a portion of the heavyweight division, but unfortunately I didn't quite unify the whole thing. In
talking about the cruiserweight division and your decision to move on, I think one of the fascinating elements in the book, and you're described by Elliot the author as at times a pathological liar, because you have to be to create illusions, to build the hype, and you walked away from beating Mormec for the title and said, that's it, I'm done with the cruiserweight division. It's impossible for me to make the weight. If Enzo Maccarinelli wants to fight me, he's going to have to come up to heavyweight. And all of a sudden everybody was thinking, you know, promoters, fans, and everybody's thinking, oh, we're going to miss out on this great fight. And all of a sudden the purses, the interest, everything around the fight just suddenly exploded because he became this expert liar.
Yeah, so I made I could probably still make the cruiserweight limit if I put my mind to it, because I'm not that big. But you know, I wanted that fight with Enzo Maccarinelli, and I knew the only way to get it was to give the illusion that, you know, I'd be very weakened in that fight, because one thing him and his people, I don't believe, would have took the fight with me 100%. So I said after the fight, impossible to make the weight, can't do it, let's move up to heavyweight. And obviously it raised the purse. I've got to pay the career high purse for that, and it was supposed to be Enzo Maccarinelli's coming out party, because, you know, they managed to bring me back in with money to get me to fight at a weight that I was allegedly uncomfortable doing so, and it worked out just right, and it's probably some of the easiest million I ever made, to be honest.